And with all these teachings, what PB conclude like about Hatha Yoga, the control of the body?
Let's give a short answer and we'll come back to it. But PB concludes that classical Hatha Yoga is really not for Westerners, that it requires a lifestyle that is not suited to us, and that there's shorter ways to get to where we're going than to spend years and years doing these contorted postures that Brahma does. So we'll talk about that, but let's also share that Brahma ends up inviting PB to his house, and he shows PB his writings and his records of his experiences, and his instructions to his students. As Grant said, Brahma shows him his yoga practices and postures, even the voluntary stopping of his heartbeat. So Brahma stops his heartbeat, and PB kind of like tests him and holds a match in front of his nose, and it's like, for all practical purposes, he's dead.
He perceived that possible PB couldn't trust so much, right?
He wanted to show, seeing is believing, right?
Yeah,
he wanted to show
put his hand in his chest, the big hand.
He didn't feel any heartbeat. And actually,
and the PB was really freaking out so that he couldn't hear any movement. Yeah.
And during this era, probably these people may not exist anymore. There are many accounts of yogis and fakirs being buried for days or hours, and very advanced medical practitioners observing all this, and then they get unburied and they're still alive. So there's many phenomenon or miracles that are not explainable by science that take place regularly in India in those days. So PB says, it seems impossible to believe that I have established contact with something significant, something that Western science may one day be forced to recognize against its will. But the evidence is there, and it is indubitable. Yoga is really more than a worthless myth. So PB is telling us that there's really something there. We don't know, maybe PB already knew that, otherwise he wouldn't have gone to India, but in his journalistic style, he's trying to draw us in, so he's writing this way. So as Grant asked...
And why he didn't become a student of Brahma?
Right, so that's a good question. So he asks him, so let's see. So I want to re-emphasize that the classical traditional yoga is not the yoga that we know today. Grant and I were once at a yoga center, and they had something called Samba Yoga. There was once an article in the newspaper about a yoga center where people do yoga, and the idea is you open up your senses, and then when your senses are fully awake, you eat chocolate, or you have a 6-course meal, right? That would be considered ludicrous from the point of view of classical yoga. We're not saying it doesn't have any value or you shouldn't do it, but it's not really what yoga is meant to be. So Yogi says, can you teach me this? And Brahma says, are you ready to give up all other activities, all your work, renounce your pleasures, right, including chocolate and a 6-course meal, renounce all your pleasures and put your whole time into the essence exercises of our system, and not merely for a few months, but for several years? So PB meekly says, I guess I don't think so. I'm not ready. Maybe one day. Then Brahma says, then I can't help you anymore. This is as far as I can take you. This yoga of body control is too serious to become the mere sport of a person's leisure hours. So they're getting to the end of their relationship. And as they're saying goodbye, Brahma gives PB 2 gifts. And PB says, Brahma moves away to his bench of littered papers and presently returns with a large document, which he hands to me. We have this document in the PB archives, which you'll see. It is covered with an orderly arrangement of Kabbalistic signs, peculiar symbols, and Tamil characters drawn in red, green, and black inks. Tamil is the predominant language in the most southern part of India. The top of the sheet is adorned with a large hieroglyphic symbol patterned like a scroll. in which I recognize representations of the sun, moon, and the human eyes. So you can see this. All the sketches and writings fall around a central blank space. We tried to have this translated, but it turns out it's written in a very ancient, extinct form of Tamil. So even someone who speaks Tamil now can't understand this. So Brahma says, last night I spent some hours preparing this. When you get back, paste one of my photographs in the center. He informs me that if I will concentrate my mind upon this queer but not inartistic document for 5 minutes before going to sleep, I shall clearly and vividly dream of him. We don't know if PB ever followed his advice and put Brahma's picture in the center.
But he kept this
document his
entire life, and,
right.
And now is in the archives of the BPF.
So then, as Gran asked about Brahma's teacher, Brahma then tells PB, last night my master appeared to me. He spoke to me about yourself. He said, your friend, the Sahib is an Indian term for white folks. Your friend, the Sahib, is eager for knowledge. In his last birth, he was among us. He followed yoga practices. Today, he has come again to Hindustan, but in a white skin. What he then knew has now been forgotten, yet he can forget for a while only. Until a master bestows his grace upon him, he cannot become aware of this former knowledge. Tell him that soon he will meet a master. Thereafter, light will come to him of its own accord. It is the writing of fate that he may not leave us with empty hands.
As Miguel say, is in everywhere PB goes, always has some message from the other realm for him. He always is guided. And the fact we are sharing with you about all his journey isn't really only to know the details where he went, what he met, but for us, even if you don't need to go to India, as he mentioned many times, but what we learn with this, correct? The devotion, the persistence, the determination, like to follow some path to discover the truth, will open many doors for us. And we don't have a reason to go anywhere, but open the doors. Then wherever we have to go, we'll go. Whomever we have to meet, we will meet, or the book that we need will come into us. Everything that we need in the path will come. But that for me, it is the more important, this message about not only in Secret India book, but also Egypt and all these journals that PB left for us, about his experience, his journey.
And PB was really courageous in ways we can't imagine, because he didn't get off the train and get in an air-conditioned taxi. He got off the train and got in a bumpy cart pulled by an ox through the dusty roads. And he slept in a cottage where sometimes he would find scorpions in his shoes, right? So these qualities that Gran is saying are necessary is why PB talks about the long path, right?
And even he never changed his dressing, correct?
Right. We'll see some pictures in the next episode. Mm-hmm. PB still, he didn't try and go native, right? He still was himself. He was a Westerner. You can see the famous picture of him sitting next to Ramana. He's wearing a tie and jacket. How many people go see someone like Ramana from the West and wear a tie and jacket? So they're saying goodbye. Brahma and PB are saying their final goodbye, and Brahma says, you know that I have but a few possessions. This is the thing I value the most. Take it. He grasps the fourth finger of his left hand and pulls it off, a ring. He holds forward the palm of his right hand. I see a golden ring glistening in the center under the rays of the moon. So Brahma gives PB this gift of a ring.
PB really didn't want to take that.
PB felt like, I can't take this guy's ring, right? And anyway, he doesn't have much. Brahma says, there's a powerful charm within the stone which will help you penetrate to the company of secret sages and which will help you awaken your own mystical powers. This you will realize by experience when you need these things. So, we could ask, how does a ring, like it's a ring, it's a piece of metal. How does a ring open doors for PB to meet the people that he wants to meet? So here's another occult mystery that we can ponder, which is there's something else going on. There's not only the physical realm that we're living in that is real, there's other realms, and a physical object can be charged with spiritual power. And that seems to be what happened with this ring.